Welcome to Daily Review, your daily dose of literary exploration. We dive into books that spark curiosity and ignite growth. While our passion often leads us to nonfiction reads that empower and improve your life, no book is off limits. From gripping thrillers to insightful memoirs and compelling fiction to historical accounts, we're here to share and discuss all the interesting reads we discover. Tune in for your next great book idea.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Daily Review. We truly appreciate you joining us for your daily dose of literary exploration. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to share these amazing books with you.
If you're enjoying what you hear, please consider taking a moment to subscribe, rate, like, and comment on any of the platforms you're listening from. This really helps support our channel and allows us to get better and bring you even more great content.
If today's review sparked your interest and you're ready to dive into a copy of the book, please consider using the link in our description to make your purchase. Not only does it make it easy for you to get your hands on the book, but it also directly supports our channel and the author, allowing us to keep bringing you more great content. Thanks again for being a part of the Daily Review community.
Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into a really powerful concept, one that kind of flips how we normally think about things. It comes from Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why.
Yeah, it's a big one. And we're not just summarizing the plot points. We're really getting into the core idea he presents, why some people, some organizations just seem to inspire incredible action and loyalty, while others, well, they just don't connect it the same way.
Exactly. Our mission here is to really unpack Sinek's main principle, the huge power of starting with WHY. We want to understand how that simple shift unlocks inspiration, how it builds that deep trust, and ultimately leads to, lasting success, whether you're running a big company or just trying to figure out your own path.
And you should expect some, maybe counterintuitive ideas.
Yeah.
We'll touch on how our own biology, surprisingly, drives our decisions.
Oh, yeah.
And why a lot of common business tactics, the stuff you see everywhere, might actually be undermining long-term success. And of course, what gives certain leaders and brands that almost magnetic quality.
Right, let's get into it. Sinek kicks off with this pattern he observed, something he calls the golden circle.
Right. It's like three circles, one inside the other. At the very center, the core, is WHY.
Your purpose, your cause, your fundamental belief.
Exactly. Then around that comes HOW. These are the actions, the values, the principles you use to bring that WHY to life.
And the outer layer is what? That's the stuff we usually see first, right? The products, the services, the job function.
That's the key observation. Most people, most organizations, they communicate from the outside in.
Starting with what? It's the easiest thing to talk about. Here's our product. It has these features.
Precisely. Then maybe they explain how they do it differently. We have this special process where we use better materials.
But the WHY, it often gets left out, doesn't it? Or it's just assumed to be about making money.
Which, Sinek argues, isn't a WHY at all. A real WY isn't profit, that's a result. The WHY is the purpose. Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed? And crucially, why should anyone else care?
Okay, so that's the typical way, but the inspiring ones, they flip it completely.
Inside out. They start right at the center with WHY. They articulate their belief, their cause first.
This is what we believe.
Then they explain how they live that belief, the actions they take. And only then do they talk about what they actually do or sell, the proof of that belief.
Apple is the go-to example he uses, isn't it?
It is. They don't lead with, we make great computers. Their message starts closer to everything we do. We believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. That's the WHY.
Right. And then they explain how through beautiful design, simple interfaces.
And the computers, the phones, the watches, these are just the tangible results of that core belief.
And that's powerful because it means people aren't just buying a product.
They're buying the belief.
Yeah.
They're aligning themselves with that WHY. And that's why Apple can move from computers to music players to phones to who knows what next. People follow the WHY, not just the what. That flexibility is huge.
Okay, so if starting with WHY is the path to inspiration, what's the alternative? The common tactics Sinek warns against.
He calls them manipulations. Basically, tactics used to drive a behavior, usually a purchase or support, but mostly for short-term gain.
And we see these constantly. Dropping prices, running promotions, using fear.
Peer pressure, aspirational messages, promising vague innovation.
Peer pressure is a big one. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend. Or join millions of satisfied customers.
Right. And Sinek's point is, That works not because the majority is actually smarter, but because we humans have this deep-seated fear of being wrong, of being left out. It taps into that insecurity.
Celebrity endorsements kind of play on that too, don't they?
Often, yeah. Think about a famous athlete endorsing, I don't know, a bank or a luxury watch. Like Sinek mentions Tiger Woods. Great golfer, sure. But does he embody the WHY of that specific bank or watch company?
Probably not. It's just borrowing their fame.
Exactly. It's using their Q score, their popularity, or what, hoping it influences behavior. Same with, say, Sam Waterston for TD Ameritrade. He seems trustworthy because of acting roles,
Yep.
right? But what's the real connection to their core belief, their WHY? It's usually just a manipulation.
And the problem with these manipulations, Sinek says, is that they might work in the short term, get you a quick sale.
Oh. But they don't build trust. In fact, they could erode it. And they create this constant stress for the business. You drop prices once, customers expect it again, you rely on promotions, you train people to wait for them. It's like a drug.
Like the car industry constantly needing incentives.
Precisely. It becomes an addiction. It's transactional, not relational.
Whereas starting with WHY aims for something totally different.
Loyalty. That's the key distinction. Manipulations might get you repeat business. Someone comes back because your price is lowest this week. But starting with WHY builds actual loyalty.
Meaning people stick with you even if another option is slightly cheaper or has a new feature?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're connected to your belief, your WHY. It's an emotional bond, not just a rational calculation.
And that loyalty is gold, especially when things get tough, right? Loyal customers, loyal employees.
They're the ones who see you through the downturns. That kind of support gives you incredible peace of mind, stability that you just don't get from transactional relationships.
So why does focusing on shared values, on the WHY, work so much better for building that loyalty? Sinek gets into the biology here, which is really interesting.
It is, because we tend to think we make decisions rationally. We weigh the pros and cons, look at the features.
Compare the spreadsheets.
Right. But Sinek points out that our decision-making isn't primarily driven by the rational part of our brain, the neocortex. It's driven by the limbic system.
Which is the part that controls feelings, trust, loyalty, behavior.
Exactly. And critically, the limbic brain has no capacity for language. That's why it's so hard to articulate why we feel a certain way about a decision.
So we make a gut decision, it just feels right.
Because it originates in that limbic brain, that feeling center. And then our neocortex, the language part, jumps in to find the rational reasons, the facts and figures, to explain the decision we've already made emotionally.
So people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The WHY connects emotionally first.
Precisely. It speaks directly to the limbic brain. If the WHY resonates, if it feels right, then the what, the features, the price, the quality simply becomes the tangible evidence that allows us to rationalize our gut feeling.
It explains why someone chooses, say, a Harley Davidson. It's not just about the bike specs.
It's about what Harley represents: freedom, rebellion, community. That's the WHY people buy into. The bike is the symbol, the what. Or why someone might desperately want a Ferrari, even if a minivan is way more practical for their life. The Ferrari represents a certain identity, a certain WHY.
It makes sense of that Colin Powell quote, too, about needing only 30% of the info.
Yeah, the rest is gut, it's trust, and that trust comes from feeling aligned with the WHY. If that connection is there, the details, the whats, often just need to be good enough.
Okay, so building real trust and loyalty isn't just about having a fantastic product then.
Not primarily, no. It's about clearly communicating your WHY, your core beliefs and values, and then this is crucial, acting consistently in ways that demonstrate that WHY. People need to see that you live your beliefs.
Trust is earned when they see that alignment.
He uses the example of Continental Airlines back in the day when Gordon Bethune took over. It was apparently a terrible place to work.
Right, morale was awful.
And Bethune's approach, which was seen as radical then, was to focus on the employees first. Echoing Herb Kelleher at Southwest, he believed happy employees would lead to happy customers.
So he didn't just say it, he acted on it.
Yeah, he improved communication, got involved, and famously started paying bonuses whenever the airline ranked high in on-time performance. That wasn't just about the money. It was a tangible what that proved his WHY valuing employees and teamwork.
And it worked. Better morale, better service, better results.
Exactly. Happy employees created happy customers, which led to happy shareholders. It flowed from that initial focus on people and values.
This must apply really strongly to hiring, too.
Oh, absolutely. Sinek argues you shouldn't just hire for skills and experience on a resume. You need to hire people who believe what you believe, people who fit the culture, the WHY.
Skills can be taught, the belief. That's harder.
Right. Think about Ernest Shackleton's ad for his Antarctic expedition. Hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful.
Huh. Doesn't sound too appealing on paper.
But he finished with honor and recognition in case of success. He wasn't hiding the hardship. He was leading with the WHY, the extreme challenge, the potential glory. And he attracted people who were intrinsically motivated by that specific kind of WHY. He didn't want people just looking for a job. He wanted people who belonged on that journey.
So you hire people who are already motivated by your purpose, and then you inspire them.
You got it. It's like the parable of the two stonemasons. One says, I'm laying bricks. The other says, I'm building a cathedral. Same job, same what. But the second one is connected to the WHY, the bigger purpose. Great companies find the cathedral builders.
So for this golden circle idea to really work, all three parts need to be aligned. Why, how, and what.
Yes, absolute crucial. Sinek talks about needing clarity of WHY, discipline of how, and consistency of what. Your why is your belief. Your hows are the actions you take guided by that belief. And your whats are the results, the products, the marketing, the culture, everything people see and experience.
And that consistency in the what is how people know you're serious about your WH.
It's the proof. If your actions and products contradict your stated beliefs, then nobody really knows what you stand for. Your WHY becomes just words.
Which leads to the celery test. I like this one.
It's brilliantly simple, isn't it? It's a filter. If your WHY, let's say, is about living a healthy lifestyle,
then buying celery at the grocery store passes the test.
right, it's consistent with your WHY. But buying, I don't know, Oreos and M&Ms?
Fails the test because it doesn't align with that health-focused WHY.
Exactly. So for an organization, the celery test is asking, does this new product idea, this marketing campaign, this potential partnership, does it align with our core WHY? Does it make sense based on what we believe?
He uses Volkswagen as an example of failing it, right? With the Phaeton.
Yeah, the luxury car. VW's brand, especially historically with the Beetle, was built around ideas of, affordability, reliability for the people, maybe a bit of counterculture. Their WHY was perceived very differently.
So launching a super expensive luxury sedan
Just felt wrong. It was inconsistent. No matter how good the car might have been technically, the what, it didn't pass the celery test for the BW brand's WHY. And, well, it didn't sell well.
So it's about ensuring your actions, your whats, constantly reinforce your WHY.
Mm-hmm. Now, you might occasionally eat a piece of chocolate cake, even if your WHY is health, a short-term decision. But if you consistently make decisions that fail your celery test, your WHY becomes blurry, diluted. People won't know what you stand for anymore.
And differentiation then isn't just about having better features or a lower price.
No. True differentiation, lasting differentiation, comes from having a clear WHY and disciplined HOWs. That's what makes your what feel different, even if competitors offer something superficially similar. Think Southwest Airlines again. Not always the cheapest, definitely not the most luxurious what, but their clear WHY and unique HOWs create a loyal following.
Okay, so the organization needs to live this consistently. Sinek uses the metaphor of a megaphone.
Yeah. The WHY is at the mouthpiece, the clear core message. And everything the organization does, the HOWs and the whats, amplifies that message outward.
But it's not just shouting into the void. Communication needs to resonate.
Exactly. It's about listening as much as speaking. The message truly lands when people outside the organization hear their own beliefs, their own values, reflected in what the organization says and does. That's when the connection happens.
And symbols become really important here. Tangible things that represent the intangible WHY.
Right. Like the Lincoln Memorial isn't just stone. It represents ideals of unity and freedom. A flag isn't just cloth. It represents a nation's identity. These symbols gain power because we infuse them with meaning based on the consistent WHY they represent.
Like the Harley-Davidson logo, it's more than just a brand mark.
Oh, hugely. For riders, it's a symbol of identity, of belonging to that specific tribe, that belief system. That's why they can sell so much merchandise with just the logo on it. People want to wear the symbol of their WHY.
And Apple's logo, their product design, these function as symbols too.
Absolutely. That almost cult-like following comes because customers, and employees too, see Apple's products and marketing as symbols of their own identity, as innovators, creative thinkers, people challenging the norm. They buy the symbol because it reflects their own WHY.
It sounds almost foolproof if you get it right, but you mentioned earlier that success itself can be a major hurdle.
That's often the biggest challenge, yeah. Sinek calls it the split.
What happens during the split?
As an organization grows, the original clarity of WHY, which is often deeply tied to the founder's passion personality, can start to fade. It gets diluted.
And the focus shifts.
It tends to shift away from the inspiring, intangible WHY towards the easier to measure, tangible what's revenue, profit margins, market share, metrics. The focus becomes the results, not the cause that drive those results.
It reminds me of that distinction between the feeling of success versus the achievement of success.
Yes. That's a great way to put it. You can achieve all the external milestones, hit the numbers, get the big office, buy the yacht, like in that anecdote Sinek shares about the gathering of Titan's entrepreneurs.
Right. They'd achieved massive financial success, but still felt something was missing.
Exactly. They'd achieved the whats, but maybe lost touch with the WHY that drove them in the first place. Achievement is a milestone, but the WHY provides the sense of journey, the feeling of fulfillment.
And when that WHY goes fuzzy in an organization, what happens then?
Inspiration tends to dry up. Work becomes just about hitting targets, following processes. And to motivate people, leaders often resort back to
Manipulations, bonuses, pressure, fear of missing targets.
you got it. Because the intrinsic motivation that comes from believing in a cause isn't there anymore, or it's weakened.
Sinek mentions Walmart after Sam Walton passed away as an example.
Yeah, he suggests that while the company continued to achieve massive growth, the what? The original clarity around Sam Walton's WHY, focused on serving everyday people with value and hard work, arguably became less clear. The focus shifted heavily towards scale and shareholder value, which coincided with some public trust issues and scandals. The achievement continued, but the feeling, the core belief, seemed less prominent.
And maybe Microsoft after Gates stepped back from the day-to-day focus on the original PC in every home vision.
That's another potential example he points to, where a period of immense success perhaps led to a less unified, less inspiring sense of purpose for a while.
So how do companies fight this? How do they keep the WHY clear even as they scale and succeed?
It requires conscious effort. Some find ways to actually measure things related to their WHY, not just the whats. Like that financial firm, Bridgeport Financial, giving bonuses partly based on thank you notes received by agents.
That's measuring compassion, relationships part of their WHY.
Exactly. Or Dwayne Honore's construction company, penalizing managers if their teams work too late, reinforcing a WHY centered on work-life balance. It's about building systems and metrics that actively keep the WHY front and center.
Like internal celery tests, making sure the HOWs and what stay aligned.
Tangible proof points that keep the belief alive, both internally and externally.
And leadership is obviously critical throughout all of this.
Absolutely essential. The leader, especially the founder often, needs to be the chief embodiment of the WHY. They're the visionary.
But they can't do it alone, right? Sinek talks about WHY types and HOW types.
Yes, it's usually a partnership.
Yeah.
You have the WHY type, the dreamer, the one with the vision like Martin Luther King Jr. And then you need the HOW types, the builders, the organizers, who figure out how to make the vision a reality, like Ralph Abernathy working alongside King.
Walt Disney, the visionary. Roy Disney building the company structure.
Perfect examples. The WHY type starts the fire, articulates the vision that attracts the first followers. But it's the HOW types who build the structures, the systems, the processes that allow that vision to scale and have a lasting impact. The leader inspires the movement, but the believers make it happen.
Which makes succession when the leader leaves such a critical moment.
It's the ultimate test. Does the organization's WHY truly live beyond the founder? The successor needs to be someone who not only understands the WHY, but genuinely embodies it. They have to pass the celery test for the leadership role itself.
People like Colleen Barrett at Southwest carrying forward Herb Kelleher's lunacy, or Jim Sinegal at Costco.
Exactly. Leaders who demonstrated they were custodians of the original founding WHY, ensuring it continued to guide the company.
Thinking about all this, it really changes how you view competition, doesn't it?
It really does. Sinek argues that if you have a truly clear WHY, you stop competing against everyone else in the traditional sense.
You compete against yourself.
Yeah. Your focus shifts inward. The goal becomes, how can we be better today at living our WHY than we were yesterday? How can we improve our HOWs and whats to better serve our cause?
He tells that amazing story about Ben Coleman, the high school runner with cerebral palsy.
It's incredibly moving. He's the slowest runner, always finishes last. but he runs every race focused only on beating his own previous time. He's not racing the other kids, he's racing himself, striving for his own improvement based on his internal drive.
And the incredible thing is how others react.
Right. His teammates, even runners from opposing teams, run back to encourage him, wait for him at the finish line. They're drawn to his struggle, his WHY, his internal competition. It's the complete opposite of normal competition, where everyone's just trying to beat each other.
So organizations with a clear WHY aren't obsessed with comparing their whats to the competition's whats?
They're obsessed with advancing their own cause. They measure themselves against their own potential and their own purpose. Instead of saying, how do we beat them, they ask, how do we get better at what we do, based on what we believe?
It's a totally different mindset, finding partners who believe what you believe rather than just trying to vanquish competitors.
It shifts the game from a zero-sum battle to potentially a collaborative effort towards shared ideals.
Wow. Okay, so stepping back, this deep dive into start with why really highlights how human this all is. It's rooted in our biology, our need for belonging and purpose.
Definitely. It's not just some clever marketing trick. It's about tapping into something fundamental about how we connect, how we build trust, and what truly motivates us long term.
And it shows that inspiring people, building that fierce loyalty, achieving something meaningful, it's not accidental. It follows this pattern, this logic of starting with WHY.
A pattern that Sinek emphasizes is learnable. It applies whether you're leading a nation, a company, a team, or just, navigating your own life.
It really pushes you to look beneath the surface, doesn't it? Beyond the product features or the job title, to understand the underlying belief, the motivation.
The WHY behind the what.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Sinek's core idea is that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Thinking about that. How many companies, or even how many of us as individuals, are actually communicating the thing that matters most?
Yeah, how clearly are you articulating your own WHY? And how consistently are your actions, your whats, reflecting that core belief to the world? Finding that clarity, that seems to be the essential starting point for building anything truly inspiring.